Anything worthy of achieving in life always lies upstream. To reach it requires effort, discipline, and self-control. If anyone promises you that just take it easy, apply this cream on your face and you'll wipe out 20 years from your looks, or spend 2 hours a day on the internet and you will earn $200,000 a year, or just wait for that lottery to open for you, that should not be believed. As they say, the person who waits for the jackpot is a crackpot. We need to utilize the proper path to success, which is based upon practice, discipline, and a slow growth. So, the one quality that is essential for success in any aspect of human endeavor is willpower or self-control. And unfortunately, this is also the one quality that people find they are deficient in. Many decades ago, a scientist called Walter Mischel conducted an experiment in Stanford. This experiment was called the toddler's torture. He tested the willpower of toddlers. Now, how do you test a toddler's self-control? You cannot say, okay, you do this and 5 years down the line you will achieve these rewards. So he set up his test very simply. He put a marshmallow in front of the toddler and said, my child, if you like, enjoy it. But if you hold on for 20 minutes, you will get 2 marshmallows. Now there is the reward for self-control. 500 toddlers were tested by the researchers. For some of them, it was a no-go. The moment the researchers turned their backs, the toddlers reached out and put the marshmallow. Enjoy while you can, who cares about the future? Some of them contemplated over the dilemma for 2 minutes, but then gave in. Some toddlers held on for 7 to 8 minutes. And it was very interesting how they distracted themselves, squirming, looking the other way, but finally they gave in. And some toddlers held on for the full 20 minutes to receive the additional reward at the end. Now, an interesting thing happened subsequently. Walter Mischel's daughters were a part of the survey. And as they grew up, the other children grew up with them. The daughters went to Stanford in college, and that was when Mischel got a chance to see how these toddlers are faring in life. He was amazed to see that self-control of the toddler correlated to success in every sphere. Those toddlers who had displayed the highest self-control had far higher SAT scores. They were far better students. They had less anger problems. They were free from vices. They were more sincere in their work. They had better health, less weight, and so on. And those toddlers who lacked the most in self-control had developed vices. They were overweight. They had relational problems, and so many of them had gotten convicted, been to prison, and come out of it. That was when it was highlighted that self-control is such an important virtue for human life. So let us delve further into it. Where does this ability come from? Whenever we engage in any physical or mental work, our brain fires up neurons in different regions, the cortex, the neocortex, the sensory motor region. Overall, the human brain is far more developed than the brain of the creatures. But there is one distinguishing aspect to it, and that is the prefrontal cortex, or the prefrontal lobes of the neocortex. This gives us humans the ability to trump the lower desires, to do things that are beneficial, even though they may be hard. The prefrontal cortex enables us to desist from the pleasure that is harmful. As somebody said, what prevents us from reaching our highest goal is not difficulties along the path, but an easier path to the lower goal. And this prefrontal cortex gives us three abilities in us humans. The first is, I want. It enables us to keep sight of what our superior goals are. The second, I won't. It enables us to not do the things that would distract us. And the third is, I will. It empowers us to do things that entail austerity, that entail discipline. That discipline comes from this prefrontal cortex. Now, the good news is that this willpower is very much like a muscle. And like a muscle, it tends to get exhausted with use. Some researchers conducted an experiment. Half the students in the sample survey were taken to a room where there were radishes and hot cookies cooked in butter. But they were instructed, you will not eat the cookie, you will eat this bland radish. And the other group of students were allowed to feast to their heart's content on the cookies. Subsequently, their willpowers were checked. How is the willpower checked? One standard test is, you give them an insolvable puzzle. But they do not know it's an insolvable puzzle. And they keep on trying until the willpower says enough. This group that had its willpower tested seemed to have gotten drained, and they gave up in the test within 8 minutes. The other group that had feasted to its heart's content continued for an average of 20 minutes. So willpower is like a muscle that tires out. And that is why you will observe that your willpower is the highest in the morning. That is the time to do tasks that are difficult, that require the engagement of the brain. For example, writing, spiritual practice, meditation, etc. And then through the day, the willpower wanes out. And often in the evening, people find that they are willpower failures. That is why if in a household, both the husband and wife are working, in the evening it is often found that they start fighting with each other. Because while working, they drained out their willpower. They were engaging their mind in a task that the mind did not enjoy. And that is why, by the time they came home, they did not have the ability to tolerate, to be patient, and the conflagration point was very low. However, just like the muscles, willpower can also be developed. That is the nature of this brain. If you apply it to math problems again and again, it becomes better at them. If somebody engages in juggling, that portion of the brain which is engaged in juggling tends to develop. And similarly, we can develop our willpower by exerting it. So, a little bit of willpower exercise. Simple exercise, for example. The body says, you need to scratch, but you desist. I will not. Now, it may seem like a small thing, but if you do it, you will discover that the willpower has started increasing. And an even more powerful way of developing the willpower. What is that? Meditation. What happens in meditation? You sit down to meditate. I will think of God, or whatever is the object of your meditation. And the mind says, no, I don't enjoy this. I would rather think of so and so. Now the intellect controls the mind. Hey, come back here. So every time the mind wants to wander off, you pull the mind back by exerting the muscle of self-control. What is the consequence? In 3 hours of meditation, you will find that your willpower has jumped many rungs. Try it and do it. And it is not even necessary that you succeed in your meditation. Because even if you are not succeeding, you are still exerting your willpower. You are every time practicing. That focus, that concentration is an application of your self-control. And self-control developed in one area of life will stand you in good stead in all the other areas. So endeavor to enhance this muscle of willpower through practices such as meditation. And even after such practice, it is possible that you may find you are still a willpower failure. What do you do then? Tap into another power that God has given us. What is that power? This is the why power, W-H-Y, why power. What is the why power? I'll tell you some other time.